Begin today the Gemara on Daf Yudaled, Amud Aleph. I think it's 9 lines down from the top of the Amud where it says V'hai Asher La'om. Okay, there's this space right over here. Okay, so the Gemara here is in the middle of a sugya discussing the kapara of the kainim. Right, the kapara of the kainim is different than the kapara of the rest of Klal Yisrael. The Gemara before brought a machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon about it. We'll get back to that machlekes in a moment, but what the Gemara brought was a braise that points out that when you look in the pasuk, it seems to be saying that the kainim are left out from kapara. Why? Because there's the kapara b'negei to Klal Yisrael that with the goat that's brought in the Beis Hamikdash, where there the pasuk says Asher La'om, that it's for the Yidden, and then there's a kapara of Aaron when he brings a par, the bull that he brings for himself. The pasuk uses the term Asher Loi, that it's for him. So where did the kainim come in? What's their kapara? And the Brisa concludes that the kapara of the kainim is included with Aaron, not with Klal Yisrael. Okay, so the Gemara now discusses this question that the Brisa is discussing based on the psukim. Frag the Gemara, V'hai Asher La'om. This pasuk Asher La'om, L'hachi Yudasa, is that actually coming to say this point that the Brisa is saying that the kapara is for the Yidden and therefore the kainim are not included? Hi mi bayale, this Asher La'om is actually needed. It teaches me something else. That the Ka'amar Achmana, what the Torah is saying is Mid'am Lahevi, that the carbon is bought from the money of the Yidden. That's what it's saying. It's not, the word Asher La'am is not coming to say that it's for the Yidden. It's coming to say that this is a carbon that's created by the Yidden, that they're the ones that pay for this. But who gets the kapara of it? Could be the Kainim get a kapara in this as well. You can't ask from Asher La'am that maybe the Kainim are not included in this kapara. Answers the Gemara, Hahu mi umeis adas b'nei Yisrael nafka. The fact that the carbon has to be paid for by the Yidden, that's already taught from another pasuk. It says from the Yidden, from adas b'nei Yisrael, they pay for it. So therefore, the fact that it then says Asher La'am actually says that the kapara is for the Yidden. And therefore the Brisa says if the kapara is for the Yidden, seemingly the Kainim are not included in this. Now the Gemara asks similar regarding the other part that the Brisa says. When the Brisa asks, are the Kainim included in the kapara of Aaron? By Aaron it says Asher Loi, that the kapara is only for him. So on that as well, the Gemara asks, V'hai Asher Loi L'hachi Yudasa. When it says Asher Loi, that the bull that Aaron brings is for him, is it coming to say that it's the kapara is for him? Hai mi bayale, but this pasuk actually comes to teach the opposite, no, not the opposite, a different point. That who pays for the carbon? It's by Aaron. He's the one that pays for it. Like in the Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, where the Brisa here actually points out that it says in the pasuk when it speaks about the carbon that Aaron brings on Yom Kippur, his par, it says 3 times Asher Loi. Why does it have to say 3 times? So the Brisa says Mishaloyu Mevi, the carbon that he brings, his par, he has to pay for it from his own money. Ve'ein Mevi Mishal Tzibur. It's not brought from the Machzas HaShekel, from the funds that there are from the Tzibur. I would think that he doesn't bring from the Tzibur. Sheina Tzibur Miskaprim Boi, that the tzibur does not get a kapara from this, but he could bring from the money that from other kainim that will pay, that will fund this carbon, because because the kapara is for all the kainim. So it says a second time, Asher Loi, even though all the kainim are included in this kapara, but he, Aaron, the kain gadol himself, he's the one that has to pay for this. Furthermore, it says a third time Asher Loi. So now Yachal, I would think Yavi, that he should not bring from the money of the tzibur or the money of the kainim. He has to pay for it himself. But v'im Avi, if he did bring a carbon, his par, and he did not pay for it himself, it came from others, then the kosher, b'diyeved, it would be kosher. Talmud Loimar, so it says again, Shuv, a third time, Asher Loi, that it has to be from his money. Hakasuf, Shana, Olav, La'akiv, the Torah is writing it again to let you know that this is something that holds up the carbon being a carbon and must be brought dafka from his own money. So therefore it says it clearly that when it says in the Torah all these times Asher Loi, the pasuk is not coming to tell you who the kapara is for, it's actually coming to speak about who's the one that's funding the carbon. So if that's the case, the question is, why does the Brisa before question this idea that Kainim should be included in the kapara of Aaron because of the pasuk Asher Loi? They can be included. They don't have to fund it, but they can be included. So the Gemara answers, no. Tane hachi kakashele. The Tana of the Brisa, he does ask this question. How are the Kainim included in Aaron's kapara or in the Kain Gadol's kapara? And the reason is because they're misvara. The Braisa thinks that we can compare to what we find by the carbon that the Yidden that's mechaper for the Yidden. And the Svara is as follows. Why would it be any different than the carbon that's being brought for all the Yidden? That it's not going to be mechaper for the Kainim because they're not spending any money on this. It comes from the money of the Yidden, as the Gemara said, we learned from Me'es Adas B'nai Yisrael. It comes from their money, and therefore it's mechaper for them. It says that it's for the Yidden. Why? Because they're the ones that are funding the carbon, so therefore it's mechaper for them. So b'da'aray nami, the carbon that Aaron brings, the carbon that the Kohen Gadol brings, so nami like a chasri be'memayna, they're not, all the Kohanim are not funding this carbon, and if they're not funding the carbon, so they should not be included in the kapara as well. So Misvara, the Gemara is saying that we see here this concept that if you fund the carbon, so then the kapara is for you. If you don't fund it, then the kapara is not for you. That was the basis of the question of the Braisa, trying to figure out where is the kapara for the Kohanim. The Ka'amar, and then the Braisa concludes and says they are included in Aaron's carbon because Kulan Kruyim Beisai. All the Kohanim are referred to as the family or the house of Aaron or of the Kohen Gadol, as it brought the Pasek Beis Aaron, Baruch Hu Hashem, and therefore they're all included in the Kapara of Aaron. Okay, so now the Tosfos here though does point out that you do find by the Kohanim that they are included in a kapara of a carbon that they don't fund. You see regarding other things of kaparas that the Kohanim, they don't bring machzas shekel. It's actually a shtukal machlokes about it, but the Kohanim don't even necessarily bring any machzas shekel, and nevertheless there are karbanis tzibur that they are included in the kapara that they get from other karbanis tzibur, although they don't fund it at all with machzas shekel. So b'payil you do see such a concept that they do get a kapara without funding the carbon. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to the machlokes that was brought before on Daf Yud Gimel between Rab Shimon and Rab Yehuda regarding the kapara of the Kohanim. Okay, so now the basic machlokes between Rab Yehuda and Rab Shimon was, according to Rab Yehuda, the Kohanim regarding all Avedas are in the same kapara as Klal Yisrael. All Yidden, where do they get the kapara for all Avedas? In the Soyer HaMishtaleach, the Soyer that goes to the Azazel. Then there's the kapara for the tumis. The tumis in the Beis Hamikdash, various different kinds of tumis. It's regarding that the kapara of the Kohanim is separate from Klal Yisrael. Where's the kapara of Klal Yisrael for the tumis? From the seirim, from the sar that is, from the sar that's brought inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippur. That's where you didn't get their kapara for the tumah. And then there's also on the second side actually, on Yom Kippur, which is brought as part of the carbon musaf in Yom Kippur, that's made bachutz. It's another kapara for the tumah. We learned before in the Gemara, there's the case of a tumah where there was a yediyah betchila, that's the kapara for the sar b'fnim. There's the kapara for the sar that there was no yediyah betchila, and for that the kapara is for the sar bachutz. That's for Yidden. Where's the kapara for the Kohanim, for the union of tumah? That's by the par of Aaron. Okay, that's Rab Yehuda's opinion. According to Rab Shimon, the kapara of the Kohanim has nothing to do with the kapara of Klal Yisrael. Not only regarding the tumah of the Beis Hamikdash, also regarding Shar Avedas. Regarding all Avedas, they're not included in the Soyer HaMishtaleach. Their kapara is in the par that Aaron HaKohen brings. He brings it for himself and for all the Kohanim. That's where they get their kapara, not in the Soyer HaMishtaleach. Okay, so now based on this, the Gemara asks, Bish loy Rab Shimon. According to Rab Shimon, we could understand what we find regarding this par, this bowl that Aaron HaKohen brings. Hainu d'chsiv trei viduyin. In the pasuk regarding this par that Aaron HaKohen brings, it says twice that he confesses. He says a vidui on this par, and then besides the two times that he confesses on it, also there's vidama par. There's also the blood of this par that is sprayed in the that's sprayed inside the Beis Hamikdash. Why 3 times? So that means that there's 3 different things that there's a kapara here for. What's the 3 things? Chad, one kapara is keneget soyer nasa b'fnim. Whatever kapara the Yidden get in the soyer that's made for them b'fnim. So here there's the vidui, one vidui, the first vidui on this par corresponding to that for the Kohanim, and then v'chad, a second vidui is as a second kapara. Keneget soyer nasa b'chutz. For whatever the Yidden get their kapara for in the sar that's made outside, so the Kohanim get their kapara in this par that Aaron brings for him and for them. And then v'chad, and then the third, there's a third thing of kapara in this par, because besides the two viduyim, which is two separate kaparas, there's the kapara of the blood that's sprayed inside. That's keneged sarda mishtaleach. Whatever kapara you didn't get, which is for all averis, in the sarda mishtaleach, the kainim are separate, and they get their kapara in the blood of this par that's brought in the Beis HaMikdash. So it's understood that the kainim are completely separate, and in this one par, there are three things of kaparas. But Rabbi Yehuda, however, according to Rabbi Yehuda, today viduyim v'dama par lomali. Why would it be necessary to have 3 points of kapara, 2 times of confession, and the blood of this par for the kainim? B'chad viduy v'domai sagye. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it should be enough to have 1 confession and the blood that's sprayed in the Beis HaMikdash. That should be enough. Why? Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, regarding all the averis, they're included with Klal Yisrael in the side of Mishtaleach. Only regarding the tumah, where there are 2 types of tumas, they have their own kapara in the par. So 2 would be enough, 1 in the vidui and 1 in the blood of this par. What's the second time that the pasuk says that there's another vidui? Answers the Gemara, according to Rabbi Yehuda, echad loy ve'echad lebeisai. The 2 viduyim are not 2 separate kaparas. It's a kapara for the same thing. But there is one vidui which is for himself, and then 1 vidui for all the kainim. As Rabbi Shmuel taught, Kachi midas adinai heges. This is the proper way how the Kohen Gadol comes to do the kapara. Mutev yovai zakai. The best thing is let one, the Kohen Gadol, that he himself is already zakai, and then v'yachaper ala chayev. Then only then could he confess for others that are still chayev, that you have to confess for them. But if one did not yet confess for himself and get the kapara for himself, he's not yet in the position to be able to bring a kapara for someone else. And therefore here also there's 2 viduyim. One viduy is where Aaron HaKohen says a viduy for himself and his family, and then he's already zakai. And then there's a second viduy that he says for all his brothers, for all the kohenim. And then because he's zakai, he could be say viduy and could be mizaka all the other kohenim. Hadaron, Allah, Shevuos, Shtayim. This is the conclusion. We shall return to you the first Peirik of Masechta Shevuos, Shtayim Shein Arba. Okay, we begin the second Peirik of the Masechta. And this Peirik will focus on the second inyan that was brought in the Mishnah, the Yediyas Atuma. The fact that there are, much of the first Peirik also spoke about this. In the first Peirik it spoke about the different karbanis of Yom Kippur and the Yom Tov and the Shchedesh that are machaper for this. But here the Mishnah will discuss the details of this, the Yediyas Atuma itself, the different levels of, or the different teifanim of a person that is Tameh and he walks into the Beis HaMikdash or eats from Kodesh. As we learned in the first Mishnah of the Masechta, that regarding the Yediyas Atuma, there are 2 cases that then branch out into 4 cases. So what are these cases? Nitma, a person that became Tameh. Viyada, and he's aware of this Tumah. Whether he was aware while he touched something which is Tameh, or he wasn't aware right then, but he found out afterwards. So he had a idea about this Tumah. And then V'nelma mimenu Tumah. Now what is it that he forgot? He forgot that he's Tameh. And V'zachar es HaKodesh. And this person is eating from a carbon. He's eating kachim, and he realizes that he's eating from a carbon. So that's one concept of Yediyas Atuma, where what he forgot is the Tumah. Or another case, Nela mimenu HaKodesh. What he forgot, what he didn't realize is that he's eating from a carbon. V'zachar es HaTumah. He remembers the Tumah. That's another case of a different kind of helam. He forgot the kachim, the kodesh that he's eating. Or another case is nelmu mimenu zeh v'zeh. In a case where he forgot his tumah, he didn't realize he's eating from kachim, v'achal es hakodesh, and he eats from kachim. And v'lo yoda, and when he eats, he doesn't realize. And then later on, umisha achal, after he ate, yoda. Now he remembers. So this is, as we learned in the Perek before, there's the yediyah in the beginning, and then there's what he forgot, and then there's yediyah b'seif when he reminds himself. The Mishnah here actually describes 3 different cases, where whether what he forgot was the tumah, or he forgot that this is kodesh, or if he forgot both. When it says he forgot both, that's not counted as a separate case, because that's just including the other 2 details that it said before, whether he forgot this or that, or he forgot both. It's not counted as a separate thing. Okay, so this is one category regarding eating kachim. Similar, another thing, nitma, a person became tomeh v'yodan, he's aware of his tomeh, then v'nelma mimenu tomeh. So one case is where he forgot his tomeh. And v'zocher es hamikdash, he's walking into the Beis HaMikdash and he understands, he realizes that he's in the Beis HaMikdash. Or another case, nela mimenu mikdash, he remembers his tomeh, but he doesn't realize that he's in the Beis HaMikdash. V'zocher es hatomeh, he remembers his tomeh. So Nala Mimenu, Zeh v'zeh, or a third example where he forgot both. He doesn't realize his Tumah, and he doesn't realize he's in the Beis HaMikdash. And V'nichnas l'Mikdash, he goes into the Beis HaMikdash v'lo Yoda. And then he didn't realize, and then in Mishayotza, when he comes out, Yoda. Now there's the idea b'seif, the person remembers what happened here. You bring this carbon of Oila v'Yored. This is Oila v'Yored, again, as we learned before, is the carbon that goes up and down. For a person that's poor, or rich, or poor, that brings a different carbon. Now, where is the entry of the person into the Beis HaMikdash that he would be chayiv a carbon? Says the Mishnah, a person that goes into the Azara, and the original place of the Azara, which was designated for the Beis HaMikdash. And even one that enters the area of the Azara that was added later on. And that area that they added has very special requirements with a lot of details of how you can add to this space to the Azara. As the Mishnah describes it, you can't add to the city of Yerushalayim that it shall have the kedusha of the city of Yerushalayim, and which has the relevance for where you eat Ma'aseh Sheni and where you can eat kachim in the city of Yerushalayim. So you can't add to the city of Yerushalayim or Vala Azaris. You can't add to the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash Ella b'melech, only with a king, Vin Navi, and you also have to have the prophet. These are all learned out from Sukkim, as we'll see in the Gemara. And v'urim v'tumim, you have to ask by the urim v'tumim. And the Sanhedrin, you have to have Shal V'echad, the Sanhedrin of 71. And additionally, you b'shtei taidus, there's 2 karbanis taida that have to be brought for the sake. And it's mainly the lachme taida, as Rashi here says. Okay. And ubishir, there's also a special song that there has to be, that they have to sing with the musical instruments. Ubezdin, the halchen, and then you have the bezdin that will be walking around in that area that they want to now include into the Azara or into the city of Yerushalayim. Ushtei taidis, and they're walking with the 2 karbanis taidis, with the breads of these taidis, and acharein, and behind them is the bezdin, and v'chol Yisrael acharein, and then all the Yidden walk behind them, going in that area from beginning till the end, where exactly they want to add to the city of Yerushalayim or to the courtyard, the Azara, the Beis HaMikdash. And then after this whole procession and this whole process is done, hapnimis necheles, from the taidis, the one that's inside, will be eaten, and the Gemara will explain what exactly is called the inside taida. And v'achitzayna, the taida that's an outside taida, nisrefes, will be burnt. It's not, you don't eat from it. Now, v'chol shaloi nasis b'chol elu, if, when you add it to the city of Yerushalayim or you add it to the courtyard, the Azar and the Beis HaMikdash, if it wasn't done with all of these details in the process, the way the Mishnah describes, it's learned from Sukkim, hanichnas l'sham, a person that's tameh that enters into this area, ein chayiv aleh. He's not going to be chayiv to bring a carbon for this. Okay, so you could actually add to the city of Yerushalayim or to the Azara without all these details, but then it won't have this exact level of kedusha like the Beis HaMikdash itself, or like the Azara or the city of Yerushalayim itself, to be chayiv for the tumah, when a person that walks in there. In order to be mamish like the level of the Azara itself, you have to have all these details.
But the one making the Azara bigger?
The what again?
Talking about making the Azara bigger?
Yeah, adding to the space of the Azara, to extend the Azara. We'll see all the details in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to talk about this.
Why? When did
it happened? They did it. Yeah.
for
Okay.
what reason? Stop. Space,
Yeah.
or?
It was as the Snashim, yeah, they added, we'll see. Okay, sagt the Mishnah weiter, nitma ba'azara, if a person is already inside the Azara, and while he's there in the Azara, he became Tomei. V'nelma mimenu Tomei, and then he doesn't realize his Tomei that when he's there, v'zachar es HaMikdash, but he knows that he's in the Beis HaMikdash, or nela mimenu Mikdash, he doesn't realize that he's in the Beis HaMikdash, but v'zachar ha-Tomei, he realizes the Tomei, or nelma mimenu zeh v'zeh, or he didn't realize both, that he's Tomei or he's in the Beis HaMikdash, and he's there already. The question is, how long does the person have to remain there in order for him to not be chayiv in this carbon of Oila v'Yored? So if this person, while he's there inside the Beis HaMikdash, and in this helam, and when he was in this lapse of awareness, he bowed down there, or he remained there for that period of time that it takes, for how long it takes to bow down. The Gemara will explain what this shear is, and this shear is learned out. It's a halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So if he remains there that period of time, or if he is leaving, he realized he's tamei and he's leaving, but baloi ba'arucha, or he didn't. Even if he did, there was a helam, he did not realize he's tamei. But when he walks out, he doesn't walk out in the shortest path that he can leave. Baloi ba'arucha, he's coming out in a longer path. So then chayiv, he'll be chayiv to bring a carbon oil v'yored. However, if the person was in the Beis HaMikdash and he became tummy, and as soon as he becomes tummy, he doesn't stay there for an extra second, he walks out in the shortest path possible, so then potter. Although he was tummy and he was in the Beis HaMikdash, he'll be potter since he got out right away. Now here, the Mishnah brings up another detail, which is derech hagav, parenthetically, because it's mentioning this halacha of the person that's in the Beis HaMikdash and he's tummy and he has to go out. Zuhi mitzvah sasei shebemikdash. This halacha of the person that's in the Beis HaMikdash and he's tummy and he has to leave. This is a mitzvah sasei in the Beis HaMikdash she'ein chayavin aleha. That there's no chiyuv of a carbon for this. Now, what carbon is it talking about? So Rashi says what it's saying over here is coming to really explain a Mishnah in Masechta Horiyos. The Mishnah Masechta Horiyos speaks about the case of a Bezdin or the Kohen Mashiach that teaches a halacha regarding something that causes Yidden to do an Aveda B'Shoigig, that they have to bring a special carbon for this. But there's exceptions for this, which is also learned from Sukkim. And that the exception over here is this case. It says there in the Mishnah in Horiyos that regarding the Tumah B'Mikdash, if the Bezdin was Meireh and caused a person to by mistake remain tummy in the Beis HaMikdash, for that the Bezdin doesn't bring a carbon. And the reason is because it only applies by a regular carbon chatos, by an aveda where there's a regular carbon chatos. This is an aveda where there's no regular carbon chatos. Here you bring the carbon of oil v'yored. So regarding this, the Bezdin does not bring a carbon. That's what the Mishnah is talking about over here. Shein chayav and aleh, the Bezdin does not bring a carbon for this. Now, ve'ezu hi mitzvah sasei shebenida shechayavin aleh. There in that Mishnah in Horiyos, it says that regarding nida, there's a mitzvah sasei by nida that if the bezdin is meireh regarding something that causes a person to do an aveda b'sheigig, they have to bring a carbon for this. What is it referring to? That the mistake that they make, that they would have to bring a carbon for this. So that is a person in relations with his wife when she's tahira. And then, and while this happens, she says to him, Nitmesi, that I'm Tomei, I became Tomei. What is he supposed to do? So upirish miyad, this person separates from his wife immediately, thinking that that's the right thing to do, and that's what he was told to do, chayev. So then for this there'll be a chayev of a carbon. Because in such a case, he's supposed to wait. Because when he comes out, there's hanal, like when he enters, and therefore in such a case, the aver, which is hard, the person's supposed to wait until the aver is mace, and only then he's supposed to separate, and if he didn't, so then there's a chiyuv for this. This is where the carbon will have to be brought for this kind of a case, but not for the case of the Tumas HaMikdash that we're talking about over here.
What's the mitzvah asay?
It's it's called mitzvah saseh, even though it's also a lav. But it's also a mitzvah saseh because this is an essa of what he's supposed to do. It's called a mitzvah saseh. Yeah, and also benegay to the mikdash, it's called a mitzvah saseh because it's a mitzvah saseh. The emphasis by the tumah of the Beis HaMikdash, it's a mitzvah saseh v'yishalchum and amachna. And it's also a lav, not to be metame, but the Mishnah refers to it as a mitzvah saseh.
So he was told wrong and he did it. He was told something that not supposed to do it.
Correct. Yeah. So because the
Bezdin
was meireh in this mistake that they caused them to do, so they have to bring the carbon for this. Yeah. For this there's a carbon.
He has to pay.
No, the Bezdin. Okay. Now the Mishnah goes back to the first point. Back to the beginning of the Mishnah. What did it mention in the beginning? Person that was Tomei and he forgot. So there's two things that he could forget that causes him to be in the Beis HaMikdash Tomei. Either he forgot the Tomei, or he didn't realize that he's eating from Kachim or from the Kodesh, or he's eating from Kodesh or being in the Beis HaMikdash. In both cases, he has to bring a carbon. So here the Mishnah brings that this is actually a machlekes. Rabbi Eliezer argues with the Tana Kama. Rabbi Eliezer says in the Lashon of the Pasuk where it speaks about this, it says Hasheretz, the person touched the Sheretz that makes him Tomei, and then Venela Mimenu. He didn't realize if he forgot this. What does that mean? Al Helam Sheretz Chayev. This that he has to bring a carbon is only if what he forgot was what he touched, the Tumah. But Ve'ene Chayev Al Helam Mikdash. If he remembers the Tumah, but he doesn't realize he's in the Beis HaMikdash, that kind of a Helam, you don't bring a carbon for. Rabbi Kiva also says that when it says in the pasuk "V'nela mimenu v'hu tamei," the pasuk there says that he forgot this, that he's tamei. Ahelam tumah chayiv. He's only chayiv a carbon for forgetting his tumah, but ve'ene chayiv ahelam mikdash. But he's not chayiv to bring a carbon if he didn't realize that he's in the Beis HaMikdash. Now, in the simple pshat of the Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva is saying the exact same thing as Rabbi Eliezer. The Gemara will address this and explain the difference between Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Eliezer. But now Rabbi Shmuel though says, and he says like what the Tanakama said here, that it says in the pasuk twice, v'nelam. It says again in the next pasuk a second time, v'nelam shtei pamim. Why does it say it twice? L'chayev al helam tumeh ve'al helam mikdash. Whether the person forgot the tumeh or the person doesn't realize he's in the base of mikdash, in both cases he will have to bring the carbon oil v'yared. Okay, now the Gemara begins with the number. The number in the beginning of the Mishnah where it said that the Yidiyas HaTumeh is Shtayim Shein Arba. So what is exactly this number of Shtayim Shein Arba? So Amar Rav Papa or Amar Leir Rav Papa La Abaye, Rav Papa asks Abaye, Shtayim Shein Arba. When it says here that it's 2, but then it's divided into 4. Why are we saying that it's divided into 4? What does the Mishnah say? It says Yidiyos, meaning we're talking about not the Helam, but we're saying that the Yidiyos, the awareness of the person, that there's 4. Why is it only 4? Shtayim shein sheish havyan. It should be 2, which is really 6. Why 6? So he explains Yidiyas HaTumeh. The Yidiyas regarding Tumeh, meaning if what the person forgot is the fact that he was Tomei, so then you have the Yidiyas that relate to this Tumeh that he forgot. Now, how many Yidiyas do you have regarding this Tumeh? Tchil v'saif. The Yidiyah in the beginning, there's the awareness that he knew that he was Tomei in the beginning, and then he forgot, and then he remembers in the end. So you have 2 Yidiyas regarding the Tumeh. And then you have the Yidiyas HaKadosh. If what the person forgot is that what he's eating is a Kaidish, so then you have the Yidiyah that he knew that this is Kaidish in the beginning, and the Yidiyah that he remembers later on that this is Kaidish. So that's another 2 Yidiyas. That's the Tchil v'Saif in the beginning and the end. And then Yidiyah is Mikdash. If what he forgot is that he's in the, or he didn't realize he's in the Beis HaMikdash, so then there's the Yidiyah in the beginning, also Tchil v'Saif. So if you count the actual Yidiyas in relation to what he forgot, there are 6 different Yidiyas here. So why does it say here that there's only 4? So the Gemara asks on this, so the Taimei, according to your reasoning, the way you're counting all these Yidiyas, so you could actually add another 2. There's actually 8 different Yidiyas here. Why? Because the Ha'ikeh Tumeh, in the case where the person forgot that he's Tameh, now what did he do as a result of forgetting that he's Tameh? He could have either eaten kachim or walked into the Beis HaMikdash. So there's the Tumeh regarding the Kaidesh, in a case of where as a result of him forgetting that he's Tameh, he ate from kachim, and Tumeh the Mikdash. And then as a result of him forgetting that he's Tameh, or that he forgot that he's Tameh, he walked into the Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, so if so, and Tchil v'Saif, there's Yidiyah in the beginning and there's Yidiyah in the end. So regarding the 2 Yidiyas that there are for the Tumah that he forgot, you could divide that itself into 2. Regarding when he ate from Kaidesh and when he walked into the Beis HaMikdash, so then it should be 8. There's 8 different Yidiyas here.
That's Yidiyas HaKodesh and Yidiyas Mikdash.
No, that's when he forgot the Kaidesh and he forgot the Mikdash. Here he forgot his Tameh. But what happened when he forgot his Tameh? Did he walk into the Beis HaMikdash or did he eat from Kachim? So the Gemara says, no, this last point is not necessarily a question, because Halei Kashya, this is not a question, because Shein Tumeh Achasi. Since what he actually forgot is the Tumeh, so that's one point. The fact that there's 2 things that result from that either he forgot his Tumeh and therefore he ate from Kachim, or he walked into the Beis HaMikdash, but what did he forget though? He forgot his Tumeh. And therefore, regarding that, there's the idea that he remembered his Tumeh before, and there's the idea Basayif that he remembers his Tumeh afterwards. So therefore it's only 2, it's not counted as 4 based on the result of what happened afterwards regarding what he ate or walking into the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, but the question still remains that the question still is Shis Havyan, that you do have 6 different Yidiyas here in the beginning and in the end. So the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Papa, the answer here is Lo'olam Tmani Havyan. The Gemara actually does use this point. The Gemara says, no, you're right, there are 8 different Yidiyas here in relation to what he forgot. There's 8 Yidiyas, the Yidiyah in the beginning and the Yidiyah in the end. Now, why are we counting it only as 4? Arboi Kamaisa. So Rav Papa says only the first 4 Yidiyas, the Yidiyas, there's awareness in the beginning, before he forgot, the loy maisen leili day carbon. So those Yidiyas of the beginning, that they do not directly cause him to be chayiv in bringing a carbon. Because it has to be afterwards that he forgot, and only later he realized. The Yidiyah in the end, when he realizes, that's what brings the carbon, it causes him to be chayiv in the carbon. So therefore, those Yidiyas at the beginning, like a chashiv, that's not being counted here in the number of the Yidiyas. Arba basraisa, however, when he remembers and he realizes what happened, the ma'aseh l'day carbon, that's what causes him to be chayiv in the carbon, kachashiv. That's the 4 Yidiyas that are being counted. Bekedamri, another version of what Rav Papa said was actually the opposite. Amir Rav Papa said, Loilam Tmani Havyan. There are 4 Yediyas if you count it all, and the Yediyah in the beginning and the Yediyah in the end. There are 8 Yediyas over here. But Va'arba Kamaisi, the 4 of the beginning, the 4 that he counted in the beginning, the lesnu b'chol ha'torah kula, since these are unique, the fact that there's a condition to be chayiv in the carbon, that it's required to have that awareness in the beginning, that's the one that kachoshev. That's actually the ones that the Tana is focusing on, and that's what he's counting. Abba basraisa. However, the fact that in the end that the person is aware what he did, and now he has to bring a carbon. This is by every carbon chatas. The person only brings a chatas if he remembers and realizes what he did wrong. So that like a choshev, that the Tana is not counting here. Okay, so either we're counting only the idiyas of the beginning, or we're counting only the idiyas as awareness in the end. But we're not counting all, so therefore it's only 4. Now the Gemara asks by Rav Papa asked the following shaila. Nelmu mimenu hilchas tumah. What's the halacha in a case where the person forgot halachas of tumah? Mahu. What's going to be the halacha in this case? Meaning the person didn't necessarily forget he knows what happened, he knows that he touched something, but he forgot the halachas of tumah. He forgot the halachas by tumah. If you touch a sheretz, you become tummy. He forgot the halachas. What's a sheretz? So what's going to be the halacha in this case? Is that considered to be a yediyah in the beginning? The Gemara will describe here what the shaila is. In fact, the Gemara Heichidami, what's the case? When is Rav Papa asking this kind of shaila? He forgot the basic halacha, which is a pasuk in Chumash. The pasuk in Chumash says what a sheretz is. In Parshas Shmini, it says the 8 shratzim, Hatzov, Chaimet, whatever the 8 shratzim are. He forgot the pasuk in Chumash that says what a sheretz is, and he thinks maybe a tzfardeya, a frog, is also tamei. So the person touched something, and b'shas ma'aseh he forgot the halacha. But that, the Gemara says, is not considered to be that he forgot, because zil kri bei ravhu. This is something that every child knows the pasuk in Chumash, and therefore he knows, he be'emes learned this, and he should know, and he knows that this is something which is tamei. And therefore, this is definitely considered to be a yediyah, that this is something that he's aware of, that he sees what he touched, and he knows that this is something which causes tumah. Okay. Taisus says a little different, even if the person never learned this, but since this is something that everybody learns and he sees that everybody is careful not to touch these shratzim, so he could ask anybody. This is something that the knowledge of this is available for him to ask anybody. So this is considered to be a yediyah that he had about this in the beginning. He knows what he touched, and this is information that everybody knows. So La'ilam, the Gemara says, what's the case of Rav Papa's shaila? The Yoda b'tumah sheretz. He knows, like every child that learns this in pasuk and Chumash, he knows what the tumah of a sheretz is, the kagayim. But the case here is, the shaila of Rav Papa was the noga b'kadasha. He touched a sheretz, but he only touched the part of a sheretz which is the size of a lentil. And v'lo yoda ka'adasha, and this is what he wasn't aware of. He didn't know this halacha regarding this sheretz that's the size of this lentil. Will this make him tameh or not? So this halacha regarding tumah, that if it's the size of an adasha, it makes you tameh, this is what the person didn't know. So that's what the shaila over here is. Is he going to be tameh or not? Is he going to be chayav to bring a carbon out? Of course he's tameh, but the shaila over here is, will he be chayav to bring a carbon? Will this qualify for a yediyah in the beginning? Do I say, even the yada the metame sheretz ba'olam? This person knows the halacha that touching a sheretz is metame, and he realizes that he touched a adasha of this sheretz. So yediyah, that's enough of a level of an awareness that he has a yediyah in the beginning, and therefore when he forgets, and then he has the yediyah b'soif, will be chayav to bring a carbon. Or do I say, even the adasha lo yada? This detail that even if it's as small as a lentil, that'll be tameh, he didn't know this. He didn't know imitami loimitami, whether it'll make him tummy or not. Halamahi. So this is something that the person did not have that yediyah in the beginning. This lashon halamahi in the Gemara is not so precise. It doesn't mean that he forgot. It means this is something that he never knew. So since he didn't have that level of awareness, so he's missing that condition of having the awareness in the beginning, and therefore he will not be chayav a carbon. Teiku, this remains a question unresolved. A similar shaila the Gemara asks by Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks a shaila ben Bavel sha'ala l'Eretz Yisrael. A Yid from Bavel that came up to Eretz Yisrael, and Venela Mimenu Makim Mikdash. He was never in the place of the Beis HaMikdash. He never saw. He was never there, and therefore, when he walks into the Beis HaMikdash, he didn't know. He never saw that this is the place of the Beis HaMikdash, and he walked in with this. Mahu, what's the halacha in such a case? Will this person be chayav a carbon? Because there's a yediyah. What does it mean, the yediyah? The person knows the halachas of tomeh. The person knows that if you walk into the Beis HaMikdash, you're not allowed to walk into the Beis HaMikdash. He just didn't know physically where's the place of the Beis HaMikdash. He was never here. He came from Babel and he comes in. He doesn't know that this is the Beis HaMikdash. Is that a yediyah or not? Okay, now the Gemara clarifies according to who is this question being asked. Ali b'deman, according to who is Rabbi Yirmiyah asking this shaila. So this is a machlekes that we learned already about in the over here in the Mishnah and also in the beginning in the previous Pedic. If we're following Rabbi Akiva's opinion, the boy yidi betchila. This whole thing that we keep on saying that to be chayav a carbon for the tumah, there has to be the awareness in the beginning. This is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says there has to be that yidi in the beginning. But on the other hand, though, as we learned in the Mishnah here, hala mechayav al hala mikdash. Rabbi Akiva says if what you forgot is the mikdash, the place where you're in the Beis HaMikdash, you didn't realize in the Beis HaMikdash, for that you're not chayav a carbon. So this shaila is not relevant. If the person didn't realize he's in the Beis HaMikdash, but he knows he's tamei, he's not chayav a carbon for this. On the other hand, Iya Liba de Rabbi Shmuel, the Mechayev al Hela Mikdash, as we learned in the Mishnah here, Rabbi Shmuel says that if you knew you were tamei, but you didn't realize you're in the Beis HaMikdash, you are chayav a carbon for that. So maybe this shaila here is relevant. But on the other hand, Rabbi Shmuel's opinion is that to be chayav the carbon for tumeh, it's the same like all other karbanis, that you chayav a chatos, you don't need that special awareness in the beginning. So according to who are we asking the shaila here? So the Gemara answers, as we already learned this in the previous Pedic, Lo Tzriche, the shaila of Rabbi Yirmiyah was according to the opinion Aliba de Rebbe. According to Rebbe's opinion, the boy yidi betchila, he says that to be chayav of the carbon on the tumah, there has to be the awareness in the beginning, or mechayev al hala mikdash. And he also says that you chayev when what you forgot is not your tumah, you forgot, you didn't realize the place in the mikdash that you're in. So now the shaila is v'omar, and Rebbe actually says Yidiyas Beis Rabbi Shma Yidiyah, or Shma Yidiyah. When a person knows something, and that is that he knows about this because he learned that as a child in Cheder by his Rebbe, and he knows that this is what the Tumah is about. That qualifies as Yidiyah. If you remember, we learned in the previous Pedic, Rebbe says if when someone touches something which is Tameh, and B'shas Maisa, when he touched, he didn't realize that he's touching something that is Tameh, so seemingly he never had a Yediyah. But Rebbe says the fact that he knows Hilchas Tumah that he learned by his Rebbe when he was a child, that is considered to be a Yediyah. So now the question is, what do I say over here regarding this case, this Ben Bavel, this Yid that comes from Bavel, and he walked into the Beis HaMikdash and he never saw the Beis HaMikdash in his life and he has no idea where he is. Do I say, Kivin the Yoda Deka Mikdash Ba'ilam, since this person knows the Hilchas Tumah and he knows about the Beis HaMikdash? So Yediyah, this qualifies as a Yediyah. Or do I say, Kivin the Mekaimoi, Lo Yodale, this person never knew the place of the Beis HaMikdash, Halami. This is not considered to be a level of awareness. So Rashi here explains that by the Yediyas Beis Rabbi, a person that knows all the halachas of Tomeh, he knows the halachas of Sheretz, and he knows also the halachas of touching something when he becomes Tomeh. But Elamai, B'shas Maisa, when he touched his Sheretz, he didn't realize that he's touching a Sheretz. So then, that Rebbe says that's called Yediyas Beis Rabbi. Here, though, the Gemara has a svara to say that this is a less of a Yediyah than that. This person knows all Hilchas Tumah and he knows about the Beis HaMikdash, but since he never saw the Beis HaMikdash, he has no idea that this is a Makam HaMikdash. Not only the fact that he forgot this one, he didn't realize right now that he's walking in the Beis HaMikdash. He never saw the Beis HaMikdash, so he thinks that this is just Stama building. So that could be a svara to say that it's not a Yediyah at all. So this also, Teku, this remains a Shaila unresolved.